G'day, this is Shane from Shane's Computing and Networking, broadcasting live from Mount Panorama. Check out my army of kangaroos. In today's video, I'm going to demonstrate the basics of network engineering for those aspiring network engineers out there who might think getting into network engineering might be a good gig. So today's video, I'm going to be using Cisco Packet Tracer to demonstrate a real basic network in a business environment. This business environment's only just going to have two PCs, one router, and one network switch. In future videos, I'll make them a bit more complicated, but this first video, I'm just going to keep things short, basic, and simple for a novice network engineer. All right, so let's begin. Let me just share my screen because I'm on Zoom. Move me up here. Now, typically you need to give Zoom about a minute to show my desktop. Righty, here we are. All right, so what we got here is we've got your Cisco Packet Tracer. You can download this by signing up to Cisco's website and following the prompts, you work it out. This is what you're going to see in your typical comms room for a very small business. Very small business. We're not even including servers here at the moment. This is just a typical network. So this is your network rack. Your network rack might be very large or quite small, but typically it looks like this. And included in the rack, you have a patch panel, you have a network switch, and you have your network router device. And you might have a laptop in the comms room as well, which is used to connect to the router via console cable. So the technicians can put codes on the lines and configure the network device. So in today's video, I'm just going to probably just focus on the basics, the physical layer, and probably touch on the network layer a bit, such as DHCP. Rightio, so let's begin. All right, first, internet comes via the router. The router device that usually probably connects to a fiber, network termination unit, probably Telstra one. It's usually Telstra. Might be another provider. I've only ever seen really Telstra or NBN now these days. So that usually connects to a fiber. And then you've got an Ethernet cable, or maybe it's fiber, depending on your setup, which then connects to the network switch. This network switch, this probably manages your virtual local area networks. I'll make a new video about that later on. I want to keep things simple. But in layman's terms, the computer devices are connected to the network switch. You then got your patch panel. Now, what the patch panel is, it's basically it's where the RJ45 cables, the Ethernet data cables. So you got Ethernet data cables like this. Ethernet data cable, those one via the wall. So those one via the wall, and they'll run to, say, a copper wall mount. Now, those terminate at the patch panel. Usually, electrician runs these cables because that's usually their part of the job, and they usually focus on the rear of the patch panel, which I'll show you now. So this is what the back of the patch panel typically look like. As you can see here, it's only got two cables connected to it at the moment, two punch down cables. As you can see here, these punch down cables, they look a bit strange. Let me show you. It's always good to demonstrate. So this is your typical Ethernet cable. If I chop this cable in half, so I chop open this cable and I shred it a little bit, there's going to be about 8 little cables in here. I don't have the tool to do it at the moment, but I'll show you I'll show you a picture here. So this is what the inside of the cable typically looks like. You got eight pins, and this is called a pin out. So this is called the crossover pin out. There's two typical type of pin outs. You got your crossover cable pin out, and you also got your straight through pin out. A crossover pin out, that's typically used if you're connecting two network switches together or two computers together. It's pretty much if you're connecting the same device to another same device, like a computer to a computer or switch to a switch. A straight through cable That's typically used if you're connecting, say, a computer to a switch or a router to a switch. So most of the time you will use a straight over cable. If you're getting into trunking, you might use a crossover. Again, I'll make another video about trunking. I want to keep things short and simple for the first video. Right here. So typically, electrician, they'll handle the rear of the switch because they're the ones running the cable via the walls. They got the training and the work safety qualifications and licenses and whatnot to run those cables via the wall, inside the wall. As a network engineer, you're focusing mostly on the front of the switch. So the network engineers usually focus on switch to patch panel, while the electricians focus on the behind the patch panel to the copper wall outlets. Now, this is the front of the patch panel. You can see here there's two Ethernet cables already connected in here. Where do these Ethernet cables go? I'll show you right now. Right here. So this Ethernet cable here, which is connected to the switch, goes to the patch panel here. Vice versa here. I've got a description here if I just highlight this. All right, so you can see here the source device is switch 1, your network switch. Your source port is fast Ethernet 02, which is the port interfaces on the switch. Oh, it disappeared. Destination device is the patch panel. Destination port is jack 1, and the cable type is a copper straight through. Now, if we go to here, this is the cable on the rear of the patch panel. This source device goes to the wall in IT. The source port is punched out 1. Destination device is patch panel 0. That looks like 10, but it's actually 0. Hold on, it disappeared. Destination port punched down 1. Total cable length. Yeah, you can tell the cable length, but this is virtualized, so that's not real. And the cable type, which is the copper straight through. Right here, let's go to the office. Right here, here's a blueprint diagram of the office. This is Acme Anvils. What Acme Anvils does is they sell anvils to a particular coyote who uses these anvils while hunting a wild runner. But Acme Anvils is a business which is growing because the wily coyote is constantly returning these anvils because he's constantly having problems with the anvils. Now, at the moment, this new business has decided to open up shop in, that's to say, the town of Whoop Whoop. Now, they've only connected 2 computers at this current time. They've connected a HR computer and the IT computer. More computers are coming later. Now, these computers, they're connected to the copper wall mounts of the office. So you've got your copper wall mount for your HR and your copper wall mount for your IT. These wall mounts, these cables here, they connect to the rear of the patch panel. Typically, the electrician will run these cables within the wall. So if I just go to create a bend point to give a demonstration, they'll typically run these via the wall. Oh, bloody hell. It can be a bit finicky. Yeah, let me connect a new one. All right. So you got your punch down one. This is the punch down in the the wall mount. So I'll just connect that there. And I'll go to the rack, and I'll go to the patch panel 0, and I'll connect that into punch down 2, and that'll connect to the computer device. Now you've got your computers here. So let me just highlight these computers. Oh, I can just go here. So as you can see here, this computer is now getting an IP address. It's getting an IP address of 192.168.1.12. This is a DHCP address. If I go to static and we select DHCP, it's just going to request the same address, 192.168.1.12, as you can see. All right. Now, let me show you the basics of DHCP. So let's go into the network router here. All right. Give it a minute. I'm clicking on it. It's just slow. All right. Now, typically, you'll connect to these devices by SSH, so SS Secure Socket Shell. I'll do a video on that later about how to do that. At the moment, though, we're just going to keep this in a lab environment with Cisco. All right, so it's asking for a password. Typically, with these devices, there's about 3 passwords you need. You need a password to access the console. You need a password to access privileged features. You also need a password for remote connection. So I'm just going to enter the password. Oh, you have to enter it fast. All right, so now we're in. So now I want to access the privileged area of the switch. So I'm just going to type enable. And make sure I get the password correct. I'll try again. I think I mistyped the password. Yeah, we are. Now we're in. So as you can see here, there's a little forward arrow. That just means you're in the console section. You can't do much configurations in this section. You can probably view the network configurations of your switch, but that's probably about it. If you see this here, which is your hash, your pound, that means you're now in the elevated permissions section. This is where you can configure the switch. So I'm just going to type in show 1. And now this is going to bring up a lot of information, which I'm going to go through now. So this is the command I typed in, show 1, and now this is showing the configuration of the actual router device. So you need to learn how to actually read and interpret this information. Cisco is a great source to learn this information. They have a lot of documentation. Rightio. So first things first here, we got the host name. This is the name of the switch. The switch I call this switch R1. You got the enable secret. This is the secret for privileged to access the privileged area. As you can see here, the password is encrypted. Oh, excuse me. All right, now you got your DHCP. Now the way DHCP works, DHCP will provide an IP address to our computer based on a range of IP addresses in a subnet. However, there are situations where you want to exclude some IP addresses from being provided to being used for DHCP, particularly if you want to set static IP addresses for your Active Directory server or your file server or whatnot. Now, I know I'm probably going on a tangent there. I'm trying to keep things basic, but I'll make another video about that. Just know for now that DHCP provides an IP address to your network devices, but sometimes you want to reserve IP addresses so they're not used by DHCP, so you can use them as a static one instead. This is what this command does. So this excludes addresses from DHCP from the range 192.168.1.1 to 192.168.1.10. So those 10 IP addresses, DHCP don't touch them. Now we create a DHCP pool. The DHCP pool needs a name. I just call it LAN. The network I assign to this network, I assign it the network of 192.168.1.0 to the subnet, which is a 24 prefix, or 255.255.255.0. I assign it the default router, which is 192.168.1.1, and I assign it the DNS server, which is 8.8.8.8. This is just pointing to the Google DNS server at the moment. If you have a company which uses their own DNS server, you'll point this to the company's own DNS server. Other stuff you need to configure. You'll need to configure spanning tree mode. I'll do another video on that later. But what we got here, this is also important. We got the interface. So this is the interface where that cable connects to your network switch. I've assigned that interface IP address of 192.168.1.1 with the subnet. And then you got the actual these interfaces here. They're not enabled, so you don't need to worry about that because I haven't enabled those interfaces on the router yet. So that's the network router. You then got the network switch. Give it a minute. All right. Let me bring this up here so I can give an explanation of the codes on the line here. Oh, blimey. All right, stand by. Just need to reopen that. It's really touchy. All right. All right. All right. Enter my password. I don't know if this is in oh yeah, we are. Password's always a pain. There we are. All right, we're in. Now I'm just gonna show one. Gonna show the one from the config line. I have it checked. No, you can't. So I'm just going to go enable. Access the privilege mode. Now, each different mode needs a different password, so that this can this can stump you up sometimes. Anyway, now in here, show one. So I'm going to show the configuration of this switch. Right here. So it's built your configuration. The host name is this, host name one. What we got here, we got the interface Ethernet face one. This is the interface that connects to your router device. You've got switch port mode access. I'll do a video later on it in the future about switch port mode access and switch port mode trunk and how they work with VLANs later. I'm trying to keep things simple. It's got spanning tree, and this is the same for these interfaces. So only interface 1, interface 2, and interface 3 is enabled. As you can see here, interface 4 is not enabled. If I wanted to enable interface 4, this is what I'll do. I'll go to interface F0/4. Hold up. It probably needs the A on it. Sometimes you can just press the tab. Or just refer to your cheat sheet where I go over here. Oh yeah, I got to configure it. Right. So to configure the device, you got to enter this config terminal. So I'll just type in config T. All right, now you can configure the device. It's got this little config. See how it's got config there? Then I'm just going to type in interface. F. I press tab, it auto populates. Then the interface is 0/4. I want to enable 4. Okay, so that's the one I will enable. Okay, now I'm going to give it the same settings here. I'm going to give it switch port mode access. So I'm just going to copy this. Press enter. And then I'm going to do spanning tree pod fast, copy, and paste. Press enter. So there we go. Now I want to save the configuration, so I'm just going to exit out of this. Which one saves it? So you got to have a cheat sheet. So when you're doing putting codes on the line, you always got to have a cheat sheet to refer to. Now you can also just go question mark if you got question mark, and it will give you a list of the commands. Usually most devices, if you just go a question mark, it'll give you a list of demands, but usually when time is the essence, you're charging by the hour and the client's breathing down your neck, it's just best to have a cheat sheet ready for you. Cheat sheet ready, because the client's going to be probably staring at you, watching you do the job, breathing down your neck, and if you're just going through, the commands and having a look via the question mark, the client's probably going to get impatient. That's just a part of doing business. Anyway, I want to save this configuration, so I'm just going to end. So I'm going to type in the command end. Then I'm going to type in write memory. So it writes it to the switch's memory. Now I'm going to show you show one. And as you can see here, interface 4 is now enabled. That can get our IP address. So if we go back here to the router, interface 4 is that one there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this one here to interface 4. Show you the front of the inspector front. So what we're looking at for is the light. Now, if this light is orange, that means the switch is currently in the process of it's detected a device connected to the cable, and it's in the process of booting up and assigning an IP address. If the light is green, that means it's connected to it, and it should be assigning an IP address. So where does this cable lead to? This leads to destination port Jack 2 and Jack 2. Where does that lead to? Jack 2 leads to a wall in HR, so let's make sure we have it broken HR's computer, and they can still access the internet or the local network. So I'm just going to check its IP address. So far, so good. It's got an IP address. I'm just going to confirm that it can get a new one. I'm just going to go static, then I'm going to select DHCP. And as you can see, it's successful. I've been able to enable that interface, and it still provides an IP address. Idea. So what we've covered today is we've just covered the basic fundamentals. So I've explained how you connect a copper wall mount, how a copper wall mount here will connect to your patch panel, which is this device here. And I explained how the network switch connects to the patch panel, and how your network router connects to the switch. And I've explained what DHCP is, and how to enable a interface. In future videos, I'm going to be focusing on stuff like network firewalls, virtual local area networks. And putting in a server, for example. So we can just put in a server down here. For example, we've got end devices here. Pop in a server there, for example, and connect up the server. Connect up the server. So I'm going to just keep it short and simple for now. I don't want to overcomplicate things on the first video, but yeah, I'll release future videos later on. Anyway, I'm quite sure the kangaroos behind me have enjoyed the presentation. But yeah, all right, have a good one.